Hold up, I am on my way, I'm in motion. Let's go to the ocean. Yeah, let's.
Hi guys, and welcome to my channel. Today I'm sharing with you 25 tiered tray DIYs. These are not only great for tiered trays, they can also be used to decorate your trees. And for this very first one, I will be using this napkin. I absolutely love these napkins, and I'm also going to be using a tile from Home Depot. This video also marks the start of my Christmas DIYs that will run pretty much till the end of the year. So I hope you are ready, and I hope you are subscribed and your notification bell is on so you don't miss out any of these uploads. So the first thing I did is measure out and cut the napkin to size so it fits nicely onto the tile.
Melodies until the sun comes up. These are the good times with you, baby. This year it's just gonna be you and me. Hang by the fire and chill. Isn't this how it's supposed to be? Making our Christmas memories. Oh, and I've been longing to hold you close. Forget about everyone else. Isn't this how it's supposed to be? Making our Christmas memories. Oh, oh, la, 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 oh, oh, oh.
I will be using some red and white paint, and I had picked up this piece of plaque for $1.99 at Value Village. I will also be using some cutout that I had cut out on my Cricut machine. And I had actually used a dollar store vinyl shelf liner, the white one. I thought I'd give it a try, and I used a fine tip blade and just a regular pressure, and it worked out really, really well. So the very first thing that I do is I'll paint the whole thing with a Christmas red acrylic paint. Once I was done painting it, I let it dry completely before I moved on to another step. And once it was dry, I took some white chalk paint that I had picked up at dollar store and just drew an outline on the edge of the plaque. I gave that a little time to dry, and while that was drying, I weeded out my writing, and I just wrote out Christmas with the Cricut machine. And then I also used the clear shelf liner from the dollar store to transfer it, and I have to say they both worked really well. Then I transferred it onto the plaque, and I just added a little bit more chalk paint to the edging. And here it is. I thought it turned out super cute, and it's one of those ones that I've seen people buy. I think there were some at Hobby Lobby and at Kirkland's, and we don't have any of those stores, so I thought I'd recreate one. I have picked up these letters from the Dollar Tree, and I am using them, as well as I will be using my red Annie Sloan chalk paint. It's called the Emperor Silk. You can use any chalk paint, you can use acrylic paint. I just have this red on hand. And then I will also do linen white in Rust-Oleum chalk paint. That's from Home Depot. Again, you can use any white. I am using a snowflake stencil that I picked up at Dollar Tree as well, and 2 different paintbrushes. So first thing that I will be doing is painting the letters in the Emperor Silk. So one tip, the paint, because I've had this paint for a while, it looks a little thick. So I am just going to add some in a cup. And I will add a touch of water to it. And this will make it a little bit more thinner and easier to apply, and you won't go through as much paint as you would with that, because that's really thick. Just a little tip on chalk paint. Now that my letters had some time to dry, and I am using the stencil from the Dollar Tree and a foam brush. I think that turned out really cute. This crate, I will be using a stain. You can also use acrylic paint if you don't wish to use the stain. This is the Veritane Ultimate Wood Stain in dark walnut. Then you're gonna need some white paint. I am using these stencils that I picked up last year from Dollar Tree, and I will be using these little stars, kind of makeshift snowflakes a little bit. And then I will be cutting an image out from Cricut, and I will also be using some bottle brush trees. But the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to stain this with this stain. It's all on its almost last legs. Not much left, but there's still enough for today's projects. So I'm just going to rub that on. So this does not take very long to dry. I'm just going to go in the little crevices. I'm going to go try and do that with a brush, but we'll see how that works out, because I do not want it to be too dark. I think that's pretty good. And I'm just using angled brush. And you can always wipe off any extra. There we go. Now I'm going to go and cut out my image on my Cricut machine. You can also just stencil something if you don't have a Cricut machine, or put a sticker, or just leave it as is. For the design, I'm using Cricut Design Space, and I just choose a design that suits me. You also want to measure out your crate to know the size of the design that you're gonna cut out, so that way it fits right in. I am using the white shelf liner from Dollar Tree just to give it a try, see how it works out, and I'm using my Cricut Maker to cut the design out.
Angels we have heard on high, sweetly singing o'er the plains, and the mountains in reply, echoing their joyous strains. Close excelsis Deo. Gloria in excelsis Deo.
So there you go. And I don't think I'm gonna use the little snowflakes because I do love it just the way it is, but I'm going to add just a little bit of Mod Podge in case, because of these hollow lines. I'm worried that it's gonna not gonna stick to very well, so I'm just going to, as an extra step, add a layer of Mod Podge on here. Okay, so that's done now. And now for the inside, I have a couple of these bottle brush trees, and I'm just debating which size to use and how to use them. I think this will be perfect. And here's the crate. I absolutely love the way this crate turned out. The lettering looks really good against the stain, and I love the trees in it. For my next DIY, I picked up the 3 of these wooden Christmas trees, and I have cut up just some wood from my yard, from my garden to use. And you will also need hot glue for this. So the first thing that I'm gonna do is I'm going to stain these. I'm not gonna use the base. And I'm going to use the same stain as I did for the crate.
I've been busy decking the halls. I've been kind to big and small, and now it's time to have a merry holiday. What a feeling when it's...
These won't take long to dry because I'm not putting a heavy coat on them. I'm going for a very rustic farmhouse theme this year, using a lot of natural elements in my house and some of my rooms, and I think this will be a perfect addition to my decor. They're done. And now for these, I was considering doing a little dent in the wood so these little ends would sit better, but I'm worried about not having it straight enough and then my trees not being straight, so I decided just to go ahead with just hot glue. You could also use wood glue if you want it to be more of a permanent thing, but I'm just gonna go with a hot glue for now.
Are coming true, that's why I cheer. I've been busy decking the halls. I've been kind to big and small.
You're gonna have to hold these in place until the hot glue kind of dries.
When it's time for Christmas, let's sing a carol and we'll bring it here. Let's sing a carol and we'll bring it here.
Okay, one last step that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go with a brush and just do a bit of a stain just so it's not so white on here, so light. And I'll go put the stain around the hot glue as well. Just so you know, when you're wiping, you'll wipe off the hot glue, so you might want to go a little bit over it after. Here are the trees. I think they turned out really cute and gonna look great in my decor. I am using these wood slices, piece of leftover burlap, and then I picked up these wine bottle gift bags, and because of the material, the fabric, and then some of these thin dowels, wood dowels. So I will be also using some pillow stuffing that I've had on hand from an old from a couple old pillows that I had pulled out. I will be using my Cricut machine, and through some trial and error, I finally figured out the blade that I needed to use. So I designed this Christmas tree. Well, I just took it out of the design space, and then I used a rotary blade to cut it out. I did try a fabric blade before that, and it didn't quite work as good, and then I figured out that if I use my rotary blade, it actually worked really well. I am using my fabric mat for this, and there you are. So I repeat this process to cut out 3 different sizes and double of each. Once I have it all cut out, I take my hot glue gun and glue the two sides together. Make sure that the inside sides face each other, and don't burn yourself. So I repeat the same process for the other 2 as well. Once they are all finished, I take the stuffing, and I tried with the dowel for this one, but I figured out that the pen worked a little bit easier, and I push the stuffing in as far as it'll go. Mostly it will be just the middle. It's not gonna go into the little branches, but that's okay, because it does end up looking the way I wanted it to look. Once I'm finished stuffing it, I shove the little dowel inside to make it look like a piece of wood or a stem or a branch, and then I hot glue the Christmas tree shut, and I hot glue the whole thing onto a dowel, the wood slice. You have to hold this for a little while so it dries, so it doesn't move on you. I did try blowing on it just to speed up the process, and I repeat the same thing for all 3 of them. And here they are. I think they turned out so cute.
A beautiful wife, 2 kids, and a dog pup.
Next craft, I will be using these Christmas ornaments that I had picked up a while ago from Dollar Tree. Some of the bottle brush trees, some paint, some fake snow, and some branches and berries. And first thing that I'm gonna do is I wanted to give the lids, the plastic lids, a bit of a galvanized look, so I end up painting them with black and then following over them with the silver paint. And I'm using a foam brush to sponge the black on, and then I'm going to use my stenciling brush to brush on the silver. So once that was done and dried, I take my boulder brush tree and just measure out where I need to cut it, so that way I can glue it and it sits nicely inside of that plastic part, the clear plastic part. And again, you kind of just have to hold it in place until it's set. Once that's in there, I repeat the same process for the other tree.
Christmas lights are all around. I can see them now. It's like this brilliant.
I give them a little bit more time to dry, just so that way the glue is completely dry before I move on to another step. And while that's drying, I'm going to arrange the top for the top of my ornament, where I add my greenery and my berries. And I like to give the little pine branches a trim. They just look much better if those little pine needles are shorter. So now they are fully dried, I assemble the ornament. I take some of this fake snow and pour it inside the clear part of the ornament, and then I screw on the part with the lid that has the Christmas tree on it, the bottle brush tree on it. And I repeat that for both of them. And then while I was doing this, I kind of thought of another idea, so I will show you what I do with the last one. I'm not gonna paint the lid, just so I don't repeat the same process over again, but I thought this one looked really, really cute. So instead of a tree, I'm going to add this pine cone. And you just have to make sure that the pine cone fits perfectly onto the lid, so that way you can put the top part of the ornament on.
Through the winter night, thinking of my only wish. I don't need a perfect snowman, and I don't need the bells and boughs, but I
So here they are, and I think they look so cute. They have that farmhousey, rustic look to them.
How they paint this town in colors, but they hold nothing next to you, 'cause you're shining like no other.
For my next project, I'm using this galvanized tin that I had in my crafting stash, some Mod Podge, and this napkin that I had bought at Walmart. I'm going to cut it to size, and then I thought I was going to use both trucks to kind of wrap it around, but then I've decided I really just want to use the one piece and kind of glue it to the front. First I just cut a rectangle, but then I end up cutting it as close as possible to the design. Once I have it cut, you need to separate it again because there are several layers of this napkin and you just want to have one layer. So I put a generous amount onto the tin of the Mod Podge, and then I placed the napkin on, but gently. I did end up ripping it a little bit, but managed to fix it. So you just have to be very, very gentle because the napkin is so thin.
Once more, and then time almost came to a stop, but somehow I knew, and maybe so did you, that everything would change from now on. Yes, from this Christmas on.
And then I follow with a generous amount of Mod Podge again, but I did end up dabbing it on versus actually brushing it on, because I found that while I was brushing it on, it was pulling a little bit too hard and ripping.
We forgot what you came for.
So here is the tin, and I love how it looks. I had picked up a box from Dollarama, and this is a lid, and I am using this little gingerbread man that I had in my stash of just leftover crafts. I'm not quite sure where it came from. I do think it came from a craft kit from Dollarama, but I'm not quite sure of it. You can always buy these at Michael's or even a Dollar Tree, I think, or you can just cut one out yourself out of craft foam. And then I have a cutout. I don't know if you can see right here. I used my Cricut, and this image was from the Cricut Access, and I'm going to transfer it onto here. I don't think I'm going to use the whole image. I think I'm going to leave out the gingerbread and use that for a different project. I am going to be using the transfer tape from Dollar Tree to try it out. I have not tried this method yet. And then I'm going to use some of the white paint to paint everything on, and then some hot glue. So the first thing that I'm gonna do is I'm going to paint the inside of this box with the acrylic paint.
You can trust that to be true.
I'm actually going to use a sponge paint for this one. I think it just does a bit better job for this particular DIY.
I've built myself a new life from the ground up. A beautiful wife, 2 kids, and a dog pup. Still sometimes I wonder if you're near or off yonder, though I couldn't tell you why. But wherever...
Just a little crafting tip. If you end up using this and you have lack of space in your decor storage, you can do a different DIY on the back, like for a different season or something, and then you can kind of utilize the other side, which is perfectly fine and usable. Just a little pro tip, because I make a lot of DIYs and sometimes it gets expensive to buy all the supplies, even if you're buying them from a dollar store, and it also takes up so much space in your house, so it's good to kind of make it a multi-purpose sign. So I'm going to let this dry, and then when it's dry I'm going to finish it off. Okay, so while that's drying, I am going to get this all sorted out.
Near or far, outside my door or in some airport bar, I still wish you the merriest Christmas. I hope it will be all that you dream. I have nothing but love for you. You can trust that to be true. Yeah, I wish you the merriest Christmas of all.
So I am going to place it right here.
Girl, I wish you the merriest Christmas. I hope it will be all that you dream. I have nothing but love for you.
So here it is. And now over here, I'm going to put my little gingerbread man. I'm just going to cut off these little things right there. There we go. Using this galvanized sign that I have picked up at Dollar Tree just recently, and I'm going to remove this rope because I will not be needing it for this DIY. I will use it for another one. And to make things go a little bit faster, I am spray painting this with a black spray paint in a matte finish, so it's not too shiny. Chalk paint would work as well. And then I use my chalkboard marker from Dollar Tree, and I just trace out an outline for this sign because I think it just adds so much more character to it. And then I'm going to proceed with a writing that I want on here. So I am super excited with the way this turned out. I think it looks absolutely stunning. For my next DIY, I'm using one of these little tin white buckets that came from Dollar Tree. They have them in a pack of 3 or 4, and I'm just want to remove this top, the little handle, because I will not be using it. I'm going to be creating more of a drinking cup from this, so I did not need the little handle on top. And I'm just using my wire cutters to remove this off. I feel like I use my wire cutters for everything. I should really get the proper tools for it all. And then I use my brown acrylic paint just to add some decor to the bottom of it. I wanted to create almost like chocolate dripping. So if you do not know what I'm creating a hot chocolate mug. And that I wanted to look like the hot chocolate was overflowing and dripping down this cup. I think this is going to look cute on a tier tray, especially over in my hot cocoa station that I will be that I always have every year. So I don't forget to also touch up the rim of the little pot. And then the fun part, I fill it up with some mini marshmallows. The nice thing about this is you can just fill it up when you're decorating it, and you can just toss them or eat them once you are done with it. These do hold up pretty well in this cup for the season. I had a different one over in my kitchen tier tray for a couple years now, and I actually hot glued the marshmallows to it, and they seem to just do fine. For my next one, I am using this galvanized believe sign. I've had this in my craft stash from the year before, and I'm spray painting it with a chalk spray paint from Rust-Oleum. You could also just paint it if you want. I just think this is a little bit faster. And then I'm going to take my red water-based marker and just draw a line, almost creating that candy cane look. So for my next one, I am going to be making a sign, and I am using some of these napkins that I had left over from last year. I will leave the video at the end for you to check out how I use these napkins. I did create quite a bit of DIYs with them, and one pack I still have probably more than half left. And I just used the square, wood square that I got from Dollarama and just glue it on using Mod Podge. This is such a simple way to add Christmas spirit to your tier tray.
Oh, Christmas tree, thy leaves are so unchanging. Oh, Christmas tree, thy leaves are so unchanging. Not only green when summer's here, but also when it's cold and drear. Oh, Christmas tree, thy leaves are so unchanging. Oh, Christmas tree, such pleasure do.
Another very simple DIY, I am using this flower pot that I got at our dollar store with more, and a little bottle brush tree that I had left over from last year. You can find them at Dollar Tree and Dollarama. And I'm going to paint my little flower pot with some white chalk paint, and I'm not going over it with a thick amount. Just enough to cover it. I don't mind if some of that wood shows through.
You bring me, oh Christmas tree, oh Christmas tree, such pleasure do you bring me. For every year this Christmas tree brings to us such joy and glee. Oh Christmas tree, oh Christmas tree, such pleasure do.
Once the pot had time to dry, I just take that piece of rope that I removed from the very first sign and just hot glue it across it just to give it a little bit of decor. Now at this point I thought this is how I wanted it to look, but I was finding it was a little bit too plain looking, so I ended up embellishing it with some of the little greenery stuff that I had, just odds and ends that I had in my stash.
You bring me. Oh Christmas tree, oh Christmas tree, you'll ever be unchanging, a symbol of good.
Now that this is done, I am ready to add my tree. I just chop off the bottom just so it sits nicely in there, not too tall, and I just shove it in there and it was sitting really nicely in there.
Will and love, you'll ever be unchanging, each shining light, each silver bell, no one alive.
For this next DIY, I'm using a piece of wood that I had in my stash. You can also use the same square wood square that I was using for the red truck sign if you do not have another piece like this. And I'm going to paint it with my Christmas red acrylic paint. And I want this to be a solid coverage.
Cheer so well, oh Christmas tree, oh Christmas tree, you'll ever be unchanging, oh Christmas tree, oh.
Once this was fully dried, I take that chalkboard marker and I am just going to write Let It Snow on it. I think the contrast red to white is absolutely stunning and perfect for Christmas time. I could use my vinyl to write this out, to cut this out and just add it, but I wanted to show you different ways you can do DIYs without using your Cricut, in case if you don't have it. Cricut definitely makes life a lot easier, but not everybody has one, so I like to give you options throughout. I share lots of DIYs with Cricut, but I also want to show couple without. And then I had these snowflakes in my stash and I'm just adding them. These do have a touch of sparkle, which I am not an overly sparkly person, but I love the way it looks on this side.
Christmas tree, you'll ever be unchanging.
For the next side, I pick this wood sign. This is quite a thick sign, and I can't remember which dollar store I picked it up. I thinking it came from dollar store with more, but it could have come from Dollar Tree as well. I am just not sure. And I give it a dry brushing of the white chalk paint, and then once that was done and had some time to dry, I use my red water-based marker and just do some writing on here as well. I love adding little signs like this to my tiered tray, and I happen to have like 4 different tiered trays, so I need 10 of decor. Let me know down in the description box if you guys like decorating your tiered trays. It is definitely one of my favorite ways to add seasonal decor to my home, and I have one, like I said, I have several of them, and I always change them up seasonally. If you want to see how I decorate all those, make sure you head on over to my home channel to check that out.
Under the tree, tomorrow it is Christmas, the first for you and me. The snow is.
Now these have been a great hit. Everybody's buying these up. There are ones that are with circle beads, but I was not the fortunate one to actually get one with circled beads, round beads, so I used the square ones, and these worked just as well in creating a tassel for my tiered tray. I did find some back during lockdown, and the way they had them placed, I thought I was able to buy them, but then the lady didn't let me buy them. I was quite upset about it, but I did get over it pretty quick. And then once they opened up, they no longer had the round ones, just the square ones. But to be honest with you, I haven't gone back since it opened up, and we've been opened up for probably over a month or so. So I just, but I had like 2 or 3 sets of these in my stash, so I thought I used them up. I do love the way they turned out. I mean, you can paint these to any color you want. This would look great in a candy cane pattern. I am using red, green, and then just leaving 2 of them the natural color. I absolutely love the way this turned out with this pattern, but like I said, you can paint these any way you want to suit your Christmas style. I happen to have them almost for every season, and I think it's just such a nice way to, again, add some decor to your tiered tray. Now for the end, I am making a little tassel by wrapping the rope 20 times around my hand. I have a fairly large hand, so 20 times was plenty for me. And then I just tie another piece and I tie it to the beads, and then I tie another piece just to create almost like a head for the tassel. And I think this looks fabulous.
The first for you and me. Another year went by, but the difference this time is that ever since July, I've been happier than I have ever been. It's safe to say that my love for you is true. Tomorrow it is Christmas, the first for me and you.
For this one, I am using giant tongue depressors or popsicle sticks. This one didn't quite turn out the way I wanted it to. I just couldn't get my green to be the color that I envisioned it. I ended up using a Christmas green, which I did find was a little too bright. And then I went over it with some hunter green to darken it up, but it still didn't quite reach the dark color that I was hoping for. I do end up adding a little bit of a white chalk paint to it just to see if it'll give me more of a look that I was going for, and it did. It just wasn't the green that I was looking for. And then I just hot glued them crisscross together, and I added some rope and some embellishments to them. And if you are still not sure what I'm making, I was going for the skis. That is what I was making. I think this will look good in kind of poking out of a jar or something, and to make them look even a little bit more like skis, I just ended up cutting a point on the top part of them just to make them look more like skis. What do you think? Do they look like skis? Let me know down in the comments.
I longed for this moment to have you.
And for for this one, I went for a different colored look. I got this snowflake. It fell off of one of my signs from dollar store, so I kept it, and I kept the signs because I'm planning on reusing that for something else. But I liked the fact that the snowflake was black, and I think it's gonna go well with my very first sign that I made. I ended up painting the square from Dollarama, spray painting it with some white chalk paint. I'm simply just doing this because it's faster. You could also just paint it with a brush. And once this was fully dried, I just hot glue the little snowflake to the top of it, and that's it. This was such a simple DIY, and I think it's, like I said, it's gonna look great with my first sign that I made over on my tier tray that I'm gonna be using over on my hot cocoa station.
For myself in a cabin out in nowhere, just us and no one else. I've decorated.
Why I'm using white chalk paint. I got this at a brand new dollar store that I have discovered. And I'm also using the other side of a wooden box that I picked up at Dollarama. I'm going to paint it on the inside, the top, the bottom, and the sides using a foam brush. And then I'm going to let this dry. I don't see a reason to painting the back because it's going to be leaned up against the back. And once it had a significant amount of time drying, so you want it to be fully dry, I take these tongue depressors or large popsicle sticks, and I make almost like a box out of them. I cut off the rounded parts on each side of one, and then I take another one and just cut sides that are long enough so it closes the box down, because I will be gluing the long popsicle stick at the front and then just the two on the side. So I want to cover both sides with that. So at the same dollar store, it's called My Dollar Store and More. It's kind of similar as Dollar General. I had picked up this old walnut stain, and I will be staining that with this. This is my first time using this, and I have to say I was quite impressed with the coverage and the quality of the stain. So once I paint both the front piece and the side pieces and let them dry. And while that's drying, I am going to cut out some vinyl piece on my Cricut machine. I'm fairly new to the Cricut world, so I'm learning as I go. And I had purchased this vinyl roll of it on Amazon. I will have it linked in my Amazon store. It is a little bit more shiny. I did not realize that they had matte as well, so I picked up the shiny one. Oops. Oh well, it will work for this project. And I am using a shelf liner, clear shelf liner, to transfer the image onto the box. I had picked up the clear shelf liner at Dollar Tree for $1.25. One thing that I have learned with using a Cricut machine is that every single process requires you to press real hard with this tool that I got in the set, because that is how you ensure that things are sticking and are not peeling off when you don't want them and sticking on when you want them to. Once I have it off, which takes me a little while, I wanted to be careful so none of the letters rip off. I place it carefully inside the box, making sure that it's positioned right, high enough, and that it's not too much to one side or the other. And then I use that tool again where I press like a mad woman. And voila, I absolutely love the way the reveal is. Like, it just makes me so happy when I see those letters on so well. And then I hot glue my makeshift box on. And then I use these bottle brush trees before I hot glue the sides, and I cut off the round part, the wooden part, and then I make them a little shorter, and then I glue the wooden part back on, just because the little ones were too short. these were like the medium size, were a touch too tall, so I just wanted to make them a touch shorter so that way they don't cover too much of the sign. And then I take them and I hot glue them inside the box, and then the last thing that I do is hot glue the sides to it. And I think this box turned out so cute. I absolutely loved the end result. DIY, I am using Dollar Tree Christmas cookie cutters, as well as acrylic paint in gray or silver, black and white, and then you will also need just some ribbon for hanging. So originally I was going to paint my cookie cutters with silver. I did intend to buy gray, but I ended up buying silver, which is more metallic. But the paint really wasn't going on the way I wanted it to. So I have decided to move on and go get my black spray paint and spray paint them black as a base coat. Let that completely dry and then dab the other paints on it. The look that I'm going for is a galvanized look. I absolutely love galvanized look anytime, but especially during Christmas time. And I have created several different pieces already when it comes to the galvanized look. I did the last Friend Friday hop, and like the very first one I participated in, I created bells. So I took that technique and applied it to these cookie cutters, and let me tell you, I am over the moon happy how these turned out. They look nothing like what they started off. They look high-end, and they look amazing on my rustic woodsy Christmas tree that's in my front hallway. So as you can see, I am just layering the paint on. After the black dried, I went with white, then I went over with black, and then I over it with silver, and then I still wasn't quite happy with the result, so I ended up mixing the black and silver, creating a more lighter gray, and I went in with that, and all those three paints mixed together just created this beautiful galvanized look. And I finished the look off with some ribbon, and here they are. I just love the way these turned out. I think they're gonna look great as fillers on my trays, but also as a Christmas tree decorations.
Project, I'm using these glass ornaments that I picked up for $3 at my dollar store and more, and I picked up 2 of them. Unfortunately, one of them met its fate, but I was going to take a picture of them when it was done. And I'm also using fake snow from Dollar Tree, the little tiny bottle brush trees from Dollar Tree, and these car ornaments, red truck ornaments from Dollar Tree. Yes, so I was going to take the picture for my final project, and I dropped one, and that's unfortunately the case when you're using glass. They will break if they fall. I think at the height that it fell, the plastic one would have broken off as well. So I take obviously the tags off the glass ornaments, and I take apart the cars, and then I use hot glue to attach, to glue the red car as well as the little bottle brush trees. Now when I glued the small little bottle brush trees, I realized that I wasn't 100% in love at the height of it comparing to the truck, so I ended up adding the medium-sized bottle brush trees that I had left over from the very first project that I was doing, and that ended up looking so much better with the 2 trees and a truck. And then I just added a little bit of hot glue to the bottom of the glass, and for the snow to stick. Not all of the snow stuck to it. I just didn't want all of it to dump out on me if it got tipped over or dropped in my case. So if you love DIY and home decor, make sure you check out my home channel as well. I share tons of home decor ideas and cleaning inspiration. And if you love cooking, I also have a cooking channel, and link to all will be in the description box.
Well, I hope you had enjoyed these small mini tier tray DIYs. If you did, give me a thumbs up. Leave me a comment which one was your favorite. Don't forget to subscribe if you're not. Thanks so much for returning and watching, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye!